This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, May 19th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
More than 24 people were killed in severe weather, including tornadoes in Kentucky and Missouri and storms in Virginia. I'm Julie Walker.
The latest health outlook on former President Joe Biden.
A deadly collision into the Brooklyn Bridge. I'm Clayton Neville.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says former FBI Director James Comey is being investigated. Donna Warder, Washington.
Does one of the world's best-known investors know something you don't? Warren Buffett is banking on spirits and not on banks in his latest round of investments. I'm Peter Schacknow.
The man convicted of stabbing author Salman Rushdie has been sentenced. I'm Jennifer King.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Severe weather over the weekend has left dozens dead. Correspondent Julie Walker reports the storms impacted several states.
More than 24 people were killed in severe weather, including tornadoes in Kentucky and Missouri and storms in Virginia, with that number feared to rise. Those twisters leveling buildings, flipping cars, toppling trees. St. Louis Mayor Kara Spencer.
We know that the devastation is truly tremendous. We are estimating right now about 5,000 buildings have been impacted.
That audio courtesy KMOV. Officials say search and rescue continues, as does assessment of damage and cleanup. Meanwhile, the National Weather Service says more bad weather could be in store for the Midwest. I'm Julie Walker.
According to the office of Joe Biden, the former president has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. The finding came after the 82-year-old reported urinary symptoms, which led doctors to discover a nodule on his prostate. It was diagnosed as prostate cancer, with those cells having spread to the bone. In a statement, his office said, quote, "While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management," end quote, adding that the former president is reviewing treatment options with his physicians. After the announcement, many political leaders sent Biden well wishes for his recovery, including his 2020 and 2024 rival, President Donald Trump, who posted on social media that he was saddened by the news and, quote, "We wish Joe a fast and successful recovery," end quote. A federal investigation is now underway after that Mexican Navy ship collided with the Brooklyn Bridge over the weekend. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest.
2 people killed and at least 20 injured when the Mexican Navy ship crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. The vessel was traveling as part of a goodwill tour and had 277 people on board. The ship had crew members on its 3 tall masts when the collision happened, leaving some of them dangling, catching onlookers by surprise. The ship was near the Brooklyn side of the East River when the collision happened. NYPD Chief of Special Operations Wilson Umberales.
The captain that was maneuvering the ship lost, power of the ship, and the current mechanical function caused the ship to go right into the pillar of the bridge.
Authorities say there was no serious damage to the bridge and no motorists or pedestrians were injured. The investigation underway.
One thing is very clear. There are many more questions than answers as to how the accident occurred and whether it could have been prevented.
Senator Chuck Schumer spoke to reporters after the crash, and he referred to recent department cuts made by the Trump administration.
I have the general sense of a DOGE dysfunction in parts of the Coast Guard.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum extended support to the families of the crew members who died in the accident. I'm Clayton Neville.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. Sleep better with Sleep Number. Now, during the Memorial Day sale, all smart beds and bases are on sale, plus free home delivery exclusively at a Sleep Number store. When we return on America in the Morning, threatening the president, the latest on a former FBI director, after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Active weather alerts continue across the nation. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy with the update.
AccuWeather severe weather experts have had several busy days recently with hundreds of severe weather reports each day since last Thursday, and today will be no exception as more thunderstorms will develop in the Central Plains states from as far north as southern South Dakota and as far south as northern Texas. These storms will have the potential to produce significant wind damage, large hail, drenching rainfall, and even tornadoes. And while the entire area is at risk, the largest danger will be across the central states from northeast Oklahoma and eastern Kansas and western Missouri and northwest Arkansas. Thunderstorms are expected to develop in the afternoon and continue into the night. Folks in these areas should keep their weather alerts handy throughout the day. Outside of severe thunderstorms, there will be additional showers and thunderstorms eastward along a stationary front through Tennessee and Kentucky and continuing to northern Alabama, northern Georgia, and the Carolinas. On the northern side of the storm system, showers will develop this afternoon through eastern Iowa, northern Illinois, and Wisconsin and Minnesota, while steadier rain develops in the western Dakotas into eastern Montana. And to the west of the system, lingering showers will persist through the central Rockies into the northern New Mexico. Meanwhile, we have one system in the northwest that will provide some showers to Washington and Oregon into Idaho, and another system just off the northeast coast providing some showers to parts of northern New England from Vermont to Maine. That's the weather across America. Cedar Rapids, Iowa will have a cloudy, cool day with some showers around in the afternoon and a high of 66. Montgomery, Alabama will be quite warm and humid with mixed clouds and sun and a high up to 90. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The FBI has identified the man they believe was responsible for an explosion that ripped through a Southern California fertility clinic. Officials say the suspect died in the blast and that their body was found near a charred vehicle outside the clinic. The alleged bomber attempted to live stream the explosion and left behind writings that communicated his motive for the attack. The writings seem to indicate anti-natalist views, which hold that people should not continue to procreate. The top federal prosecutor in the area called the message anti-pro-life. 4 other people were injured in the blast. Police say they have since been released from the hospital. America in the Morning continues. Administration officials are accusing a former FBI director of inciting violence against President Trump. Correspondent Donna Warder reports the controversy was caused by a post on social media.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says former FBI Director James Comey is being investigated after posting on Instagram seashells on the beach that appeared to form the numbers 8647 with the comment, "Cool shell formation on my beach walk." Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States, and 86 has various meanings, including to throw out, get rid of, or refuse service to. Numerous Trump officials say Comey was advocating for Trump's assassination. Noem says the Department of Homeland Security and Secret Service are investigating. The post has since been deleted. Comey then wrote that it never occurred to him that some people associate those numbers with violence. Donna Warder, Washington.
In sports, from Indianapolis, rookie Robert Schwartzman wins the pole position for the 2025 Indianapolis 500. He drove his Chevrolet in qualifying to 232.790 miles per hour over 4 laps. The first rookie to qualify for the pole position since Teo Fabi in 1983. The greatest spectacle in racing will be run Sunday, May 25th. Warren Buffett's new investment strategy revealed when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Thanks for starting your Monday with America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. In for CNBC's Jessica Ettinger, here's Peter Schacknow.
Once per quarter, investors with significant holdings are required to disclose what they've bought and sold. Billionaire Warren Buffett is among those who get the most attention. And in his latest disclosure, he's withdrawing from banks and focusing on food and drink.
Warren Buffett's firm unloading its entire stake in Citi and paring back B of A by more than 7% and Capital One by 4%. Berkshire Hathaway adding to some of its consumer-facing companies, however, also doubling its stake in Constellation Brands as well as Pool Corp, and it increased exposure to Domino's.
That's CNBC's Leslie Picker. Buffett turning his back on banks notwithstanding, there is one bank that is on quite a roll. Bank of New York Mellon stock is up 15 days in a row on the heels of a strong outlook and its focus on businesses with higher profit margins. One place where new money is pulling up short is the housing market. CNBC real estate correspondent Diana Olick says starts for new housing construction were up last month, but less than expected, and that was not true at all for single-family housing.
Single family was down 2% month to month, down 12% year over year. And this is all about tariffs. It's about the stock market. It's about mortgage rates going over 7% in April when these numbers were going on. And it's really about that builder confidence that we saw in the numbers yesterday that was down to a 3-year low. And that's because builders are just not seeing that buyer traffic. They're seeing buyers hesitate. And so they're just not putting as many holes in the ground right now.
Those numbers covered the month of April. And of course, the stock market has staged a turnaround since then, chalking up its best gains in 5 weeks last week, and the average is finishing at 2.5-month highs. That doesn't mean caution isn't warranted, though, according to Goldman Sachs partner Alexandra Wilson Elizondo.
With a tariff rate that's, 5x what it was, could we retest the lows? Yeah, we can. We've seen a tremendous amount of retail buying. Institutions still haven't necessarily put all their money back to work. So there's a lot of momentum in our minds in the short term. But in the far term, there's a lot that remains to be seen, a lot of execution risk.
We'll see if the market's good mood holds up after Moody's cut the United States AAA credit rating late Friday due to high government debt levels. Moody's was the last of the 3 major credit agencies to make that move. On today's watch list, the Conference Board's latest index of leading economic indicators, that predictor of economic fortune, is expected to fall. Though the heaviest part of corporate earnings season is over, some of the country's major retailers will occupy the earnings spotlight this week. Home Depot will report tomorrow, with Target and Lowe's set to issue quarterly numbers on Wednesday. Cryptocurrency continues to elbow its way into the mainstream. Cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase will see its stock join the S&P 500 as of today, coming on the heels of crypto investment company Galaxy Digital going public this past Friday.
CNBC's Peter Schacknow with Monday Business. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court will temporarily step down pending the outcome of an investigation into allegations of sexual misconduct.
Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan has categorically denied accusations that he tried for more than a year to coerce a female aide into a sexual relationship and groped her against her will. Last year, an AP investigation found that 2 court employees in whom the alleged victim confided had come forward with the accusation in May. This was a few weeks before Khan sought arrest warrants against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his defense minister and 3 Hamas leaders on war crimes charges. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Among the stories we're covering next, author Salman Rushdie's attacker sentenced. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Thanks for listening. A judge has dismissed the jury in a Canadian hockey sexual assault case. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports.
The judge handling the trial of 5 hockey players accused of sexual assault has dismissed the jury after a complaint that defense attorneys were laughing at some of the jurors. Ontario Superior Court Justice Maria Carocha will now handle the high-profile case on her own. The players were charged after the incident that allegedly took place when they were in London, Ontario, for a Hockey Canada gala celebrating their championship at that year's World Junior Tournament. All have pleaded not guilty. None of them are on an NHL roster. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
The man who stabbed famed author Salman Rushdie has been sentenced for that attack. Correspondent Jennifer King reports he'll be spending over 2 decades behind bars.
Hadi Matar has received a sentence of 25 years in prison. A jury in February found him guilty of attempted murder and assault for stabbing Rushdie on a lecture stage at the Chautauqua Institute in upstate New York in 2022. During the trial, Rushdie described how he believed he was dying when a masked attacker stabbed him more than a dozen times in the head and body.
I'm pleased with the sentence that was imposed by the judge, quite obviously.
Jason Schmidt is the Chautauqua County District Attorney.
He's traumatized that he has nightmares about what he experienced.
Authorities say Matar was carrying out an edict calling for Rushdie's death when the attack occurred. He also faces a federal trial on terrorism-related charges. I'm Jennifer King.
America in the Morning for Monday, May 19th, 2025 is produced by Alexander Hinton. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Dozens killed and billions of dollars in damage after weekend storms. I'm Clayton Neville.
The FBI calls Saturday's bombing at a California fertility clinic
an intentional act of terrorism.
I'm Rich Johnson.
Former President Biden shockingly announces he's fighting an aggressive form of prostate cancer. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
Microsoft providing AI advanced tech in the war in Gaza. I'm Chuck Palm.
Death wins at the box office this week. I'm Kevin Carr.
That and more when we return after these messages. You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. At least 28 people were killed as a result of severe weather over the weekend. Correspondent Clayton Neville says storms tore through America's heartland and on into the East Coast.
But the National Weather Service says it's believed an EF3 tornado ripped through parts of St. Louis. At least 5 people killed and 38 injured in the city during the storm that brought winds up to 140 miles per hour, and it was a mile wide.
This is going to be a long recovery because the destruction is truly phenomenal.
St. Louis Mayor Kara Spencer says over 5,000 buildings were damaged.
We estimate right now over $1 billion of damage, property damage, that does not even begin to account for the personal human toll that this has taken in our community.
In Kentucky, at least 19 people dead after severe weather moved through Laurel County, southeast of Louisville.
You see 5 houses in a row. They're just gone entirely. No walls, no windows, just a pile that can't be big enough to have been that house. You have a lot of trauma coming out of this one.
Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear toured the destruction and stressed the importance of being weather aware at all times of the day and paying close attention to warning systems.
And it's not a message that anybody did anything wrong. They didn't. But let's be weather aware every day. Let's take everyone seriously. Let's make sure that we have those weather alarms that can wake us up at night. The weather radios. It's just this seems to be the new normal that Kentucky is facing, and if that's true, I want to make sure we have every tool to protect people every time.
Damage assessment ongoing and recovery really just beginning. This is the severe weather moved east, and 7 people in Missouri were killed by the storms, 2 in Virginia. I'm Clayton Neville.
Former President Joe Biden has announced that he's been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. John Stolnis has more on the revelation from Washington.
In a statement released by the former president's office Sunday, Biden went to the doctor after increasing urinary symptoms and was diagnosed on Friday with prostate cancer, quote, characterized by a Gleason score of 9 with metastasis to the bone. The statement continued, quote, while this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. Biden, who is 82, is reviewing treatment options. A Gleason score of 9 means it's one of the most aggressive forms of cancer. President Donald Trump reacting in a statement saying he, quote, wished Joe a fast and successful recovery. And Biden's former Vice President Kamala Harris said on social media, quote, Joe is a fighter and will face this challenge with the same strength, resilience, and optimism that have always defined his life and leadership. Former President Barack Obama noted Biden's efforts with the cancer moonshot, saying on social media, quote, I am certain he will fight this challenge with his trademark resolve and grace. Dr. Manish Vira, Assistant Chief of Urology at Northwell Health Cancer Institute, tells CBS News New York the prognosis doesn't necessarily mean President Biden is close to death.
Unlike a lot of other cancers where when you hear stage 4 cancer, you think I have only weeks or months to live. With prostate cancer, the treatments that we have available can keep patients around for a very long time. The treatments are very effective at controlling the disease, reducing symptoms, and helping patients live for many years in some cases.
The revelation comes as new books are being published revealing attempts by the Biden White House to hide his declining health from a public increasingly concerned about his ability to function for a second term during the 2024 presidential election. John Stolness, Washington.
The FBI has identified the suspect, who was also the only fatality in Saturday's bombing of a fertility clinic in Palm Springs, California. Correspondent Rich Johnson reports investigators also believe they've found a motive.
How big a bomb was it?
This is probably the largest bombing scene that we've had in Southern California.
A security camera at a nearby home captured the sound of the Saturday morning bombing at the American Reproductive Center's facility in Palm Springs, California. The blast killed one person, whom the FBI's Akil Davis identifies as 25-year-old Guy Edward Bartkus of 29 Palms, California.
We are fairly confident that Mr. Bartkus is our primary suspect.
Davis told reporters yesterday they found evidence of a motivation in Bartkus's writings.
The subject had nihilistic ideations, and this was a targeted attack against the IDF facility. Make no mistake, we are treating this, as I said yesterday, as an intentional act of terrorism.
Psychology Today defines nihilism as the belief that all values, and therefore institutions, are baseless. The publication also notes a hardcore nihilist might believe in nothing, would have no loyalties, and might not have any purpose other than perhaps a burning desire to tear down and destroy. Davis said they believe that Bartkus was trying to live stream the attack, but no stream has surfaced on social media. The blast killed Bartkus and injured 4 others, all of whom have been released from medical care. Davis also credited Palm Springs firefighters, police, and the FBI's bomb squad for saving all of the embryos at the facility.
Good guys 1, bad guys 0.
I'm Rich Johnson.
Escaped prisoners remain at large, and AI on the battlefield. Those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Correspondent Julie Walker reports President Trump is taking issue with Walmart's announcement that it plans to increase prices.
President Trump posting on his Truth social media, Walmart should stop trying to blame tariffs as the reason for raising prices throughout the chain. Walmart made billions of dollars last year, far more than expected. Between Walmart and China, they should, as is said, eat the tariffs and not charge valued customers anything. He closes by saying, I'll be watching. Speaking on an earnings call Thursday, Walmart CEO Doug McMillon said the store would have to raise prices.
Even at the reduced levels, the higher tariffs will result in higher prices.
Walmart's CFO said he thinks $350 car seats made in China will soon cost an additional $100, a 29% price increase. I'm Julie Walker.
Over 1,000 people have been infected in the ongoing measles outbreak in the United States. However, correspondent Ed Donahue reports that the disease spread appears to be slowing down.
The CDC says there were fewer than 10 newly reported measles cases in Texas in the last week, but experts say it's not fully over. Incident manager Dr. Manisha Patel says affected states remain hyper-vigilant because it's travel season. She adds there is a lot of global measles activity right now. There are more than 1,000 reported measles cases across the country, covering 29 states. That's an increase of 23 in a week. The majority of cases still are in Texas. The best way to avoid measles is to get the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. I'm Ed Donahue.
Authorities in New Orleans say 7 of 10 men who broke out of jail Friday are still on the lam. Correspondent Donna Warder has details.
Authorities say 10 men escaped a New Orleans prison Friday by going through a hole behind a toilet and scaling a wall while the one guard on duty was away getting food. At a news conference by the New Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office, Chief of Corrections Jay Mallett says plumbing had been removed that could not have been done by the inmates.
There was some assistance with this. That's why we thoroughly investigated.
Surveillance footage shows the escapees sprinting out of the facility, some wearing orange clothing, others in white. They scaled a barbed wire fence, covering it with blankets to avoid being cut. One prisoner was caught soon after the escape, after a brief chase on foot through the famous French Quarter. 2 more escapees were caught by Friday evening. I'm Donna Warder.
The FBI has announced it is increasing the reward for information leading to the arrest of the escaped inmates from $5,000 to $10,000. If you have a tip or information, one easy phone number to remember, 1-800-CALL-FBI. There's been another dip in consumer sentiment. Correspondent Sagar Magani reports the falters being blamed on tariff uncertainty.
Americans are increasingly worried President Trump's trade war will make inflation worse. The University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index has fallen for a 5th straight month to the lowest level in 3 years. It's down nearly 30% since January. Americans have grown more sour about the economy's direction amid the Trump administration's huge import duties, which threaten to both slow growth and boost prices.
People are feeling stress and concern.
But Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said last week the numbers tell a different story.
It's still a healthy economy.
He notes the Fed will hold off on any interest rate moves until seeing the Trump tariff impact. Sagar Magani, Washington.
The results of a Senate race in the Philippines are a blow to the country's president, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma files this report.
Philippines VP Sara Duterte greets supporters on May 12 as she arrives at a polling station ahead of the country's midterm elections. Now key allies of her father, detained former President Rodrigo Duterte, and 2 Liberal opposition candidates are among top winners, according to official results. The midterm election outcome has provided unexpectedly strong backing for Duterte and boosted his daughter ahead of her impeachment trial in the Senate in July. The election also was a blow to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s administration, whose candidates did not do as well as expected in the midterm polls, when the president's influence is usually strong, analysts say. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Microsoft said in a blog post last week that they've been providing advanced AI systems and databases to aid in the war in the Gaza Strip. Here's Chuck Palm with details in today's Tech Report.
According to an article on AP, Microsoft acknowledged Thursday that it sold advanced artificial intelligence and cloud computing services to the Israeli military during the war in Gaza. But they claim that they have found no evidence that the Azure platform or AI technologies were used to target or harm anyone in Gaza. This according to a post on the Microsoft blog's website, which was unsigned and appears to be the company's first acknowledgement of deep involvement in the war. AP has previously posted a story about Microsoft's involvement with the Ministry of Defense and that the Israeli military used Azure to transcribe, translate, and process intelligence gathered through surveillance. The blog post did not directly address several questions about precisely how the Israeli military is using its technologies, and the company declined further comment. But Microsoft said it had also provided special access to technologies beyond the terms of our commercial agreements. Learn more at chuckpalm.com.
America in the Morning continues as we welcome back Robert Workman and a check of sports.
We're down to the final 4 teams in the NBA playoffs. In the West on Sunday, Game 7, the Thunder erased an early 11-point deficit and rolled over the Nuggets 125-93 to advance to the Western Conference Finals. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 35 points.
I was nervous, to be honest, just knowing what's on the line. We've worked so hard the whole 82-game season. We've all worked so hard in the summer, and to know if you don't bring your A game, it could all be over with. not for nothing.
OKC will host Minnesota in Game 1 of the West Final tomorrow night. The East Final begins Wednesday at Madison Square Garden, the Knicks and the Pacers. The NHL's Frozen Four is set as well. In the East, Game 7, the Panthers plastered the Maple Leafs 6-1 to keep their repeat hopes alive. After a scoreless first period, Florida scored 3 times in the second and 3 more in the third. The Panthers will open up the Eastern Conference Finals tomorrow night at Carolina. The West Final begins Wednesday night in Dallas with the Stars against the Oilers. Golf world number 1 Scottie Scheffler won the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow in Charlotte by 5 strokes, his 3rd major, adding the Wanamaker Trophy to a pair of green jackets. That also gives the 28-year-old 15 tour victories. Here's the list of guys with 15 wins and 3 majors before age 30. Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, and now Scottie Scheffler. Baseball wrapping up rivalry weekend. The Brewers beat the Twins 5-2, ending Minnesota's 13-game winning streak. That's the second longest in team history. Phillies blanked the Pirates 1-0. 4 pitchers combined on a 6-hitter, while Paul Skeens allowed just 3 hits in his first career complete game, but took the L. Diamondbacks shut out the Rockies 1-0. Merrill Kelly and the Heroes with a 3-hitter. Ketel Marte's first-inning dinger held up. Nationals nailed the Orioles 10-4. Baltimore has lost 6 in a row and sacked manager Brandon Hyde on Saturday. Braves bashed the Red Sox 10-4. 8 different players drove in runs. Wins for all 3 AL division leaders. The Tigers over the Blue Jays, the Mariners sank the Padres, and the Yankees beat the NL East leading Mets last night. The top team in the West, the Dodgers, also lost to the Angels. The only National League division leader to win yesterday, the Cubs, downing the White Sox. Astros edged the Rangers, Giants nipped the A's, Royals got by the Cardinals, Marlins blocked the Rays, and the Reds downed the Guardians. That's Monday Sports.
When we return on America in the Morning, investigation continues into the fire that destroyed a former Louisiana sugar plantation. After these messages. An historic mansion in Louisiana has gone up in flames. Correspondent Jennifer King reports the cause of the blaze is under investigation.
The Nodule plantation house, built in 1859. Enslaved black people helped build the home and operate the sugar plantation where it stood. The antebellum mansion became a resort and event venue that drew many visitors who came to admire the architecture and reflect on its history. Local resident Leslie Bernstein.
Everybody have their own opinions on Nodule, but it is, it is White Castle. It's one of the biggest slave plantations in Louisiana. It's historical.
The mansion's owner, a Louisiana attorney, says he's devastated. Iberville Parish President Chris Daigle called Nodule a cornerstone of the tourism economy and a site of national significance. Nearly a dozen fire departments from surrounding towns battled the blaze. No injuries were reported. Audio courtesy WBRZ. I'm Jennifer King.
A franchise once thought to be dead has come back to life to win the weekend box office. Entertainment correspondent Kevin Carr explains.
Final Destination Bloodlines had a killer weekend at the box office.
I always knew this day would come.
The 6th in a series of grisly films about people who escape a catastrophe only to be hunted down one by death itself executed a franchise best opening of $51 million.
So, which one of you is next?
This is a massive win for the series, which matched this overseas for a global opening north of $100 million.
This team can be the heroes on the Wheaties box.
Marvel's ragtag heroes, the Thunderbolts, had to settle for second place, bringing in $16 million in its 3rd weekend, enough to push its global cume past $300 million.
I can save you from your fate.
In 3rd place was Ryan Coogler's Sinners with $15 million.
You keep dancing with the devil.
This original period vampire film is proving to be a juggernaut with a global box office past $300 million.
Chicken jockey!
In 4th place was a Minecraft movie with $5.5 million. Along with Final Destination and Sinners, this is the 3rd film from Warner Brothers that placed in the top 5 this week.
Anything else?
And finally, holding on to 5th place was The Accountant 2 with $4.5 million.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
Hollywood had a strong spring in theaters. Coming up next, Tom Cruise battles a cute little alien next week as the summer movie season gets started. I'm Kevin Carr.
It was on this date in 1962 that actress Marilyn Monroe sang her iconic Happy Birthday, Mr. President song to President Kennedy. And on this date in 1883, Buffalo Bill's Wild West show opened in Omaha, Nebraska. America in the Morning for Monday, May 19th, 2025 is produced by Alexander Hinton. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.